we have people who have a very solid foundation in mathematics. So when we look at a texture map, we see a problem in sampling, and we know how to propagate the error in our numbering system through the sampling problem. We know how to arrange for clipping and the correct limiting of values and test cases and things like that. And additionally, we have a lot of guys trained in programming from MIT who are very accustomed to dealing with limit cases of programs and of test cycles and things like that, which is a rigorous standard that we hold ourselves to that we see very few other game companies hold themselves to it. Synthetically generated scenes never have that photoreal bite, that kind of sense of super reality that Flight Unlimited has. The thing that really makes it revolutionary rather than just kind of pushing to the next kind of level of cartoony looking graphics. What we've done is we take stereo aerial photos, and using the technology that Tim Day had been working on and developed himself at UCL, we can stereo match them to get the height array out, just like your eyes do. It's a very serious mathematical problem. It's not the kind of thing when you get to this level that you can kind of hack around in the traditional hacker sense. You really have to sit back and say, listen, I'm doing mathematics and it's following the laws of mathematics in this realm. I have to really understand what's going on. And that's the advantage that Looking Glass has. The guy who wrote the FBO is Greg Travis. He had his degree in math and computer science from Oberlin College in Ohio, I think. And he's the best C++ programmer I've ever known or heard of. He's incredible. He can do anything instantly. Very easy because of the way that we do the flight modeling. Since we know the velocity and pressure of the air everywhere on the surface of the airplane, it's very easy for us to make the same mistakes that those instruments do. And a lot of people say that space is six-dimensional. You have 3 degrees of location plus 3 rotations, right? But that's not enough. You have to define what the rotations are around. You can get all sorts of trouble, basically. So never believe anybody when they tell you that space is six-dimensional. His name is Mike Marsicano. He's a brilliant industrial designer and probably the best artist here at Looking Glass, and that's among a group of extremely talented artists. He can make sketches of cars in no time that look like they come from the General Motors annual report. We're trying to make the manual as readable and cool as possible. It's very visual, it's mostly pictures, it's extremely short. It's going to have a nice binding. It's going to be the kind of thing that you're going to want to look at. Maybe we can get 6% instead of 3% of the people who buy the game to actually look at the manual. Yeah. I have an extreme view of aerodynamics, which I express in there, which is everything I need to know about aerobatics about aerodynamics I learned by sticking my hand out the car window view. Anyway, you can read about that in there. They all have the same features, and they all implement these features to a greater or lesser degree. And everyone has come to expect those features, and everyone looks to see how well they've implemented those features. And when the new flight simulator comes out, it implements, say, the renderer feature a little bit better, or it does texture mapping a little bit, does one of these crazy things a little bit better. And our attitude with Flight Unlimited was not to do that, was to say that, listen, there's something missing from the experience. We started at the very beginning to redesign what a flight simulator should be, and to think very carefully about what kinds of things a computer can do well toward giving you that experience of flying, toward simulating the experience of flying. And those are the kinds of things that we try to emphasize in Flight Unlimited, and that's the direction that we're pushing it. And you get a lot of people who ask over the phone when they first talk about it, before they see it, they say, oh, does it do external camera off the right wing view? And I say to myself, I have to explain to them, well, yes, but,
it's a pilot experience.
It's not clear if you're going to really want that. You're not going to be looking to have 10 trillion external camera views and stuff. Although you can have external camera view, you can set your external camera view, and you can record. I mean, if you try hard, you can get it to have the same features as an establishment flight simulator. But the point is that you're going to be having a different thing going on when you're playing Flight Unlimited. You're going to have an experience going on which is more akin to flying an airplane than any of these other things. And the interface of the FBO is designed to be very easy and clear, and you know what's going on. I want an airplane, I go pick an airplane. But they're going to need to be trained how to fly. They might be really interested in flying, but they're not going to know how to fly, and it's not something that you can just start up an airplane and go flying. So to that end, we have the flight instructor trained. Imagine sticking your hand out the car window right now, and if the car speeds up, there's more force. If you increase the angle that your hand is, it's going to lift up. Your hand gets forced in this direction like this, and there's lift and there's drag, and they combine together. It's very clear what's going on. If you go like this, your hand's going to dip and go back like that. And the whole concept of a wing is circulation. Air hits the bottom of your hand. We take color stereo aerial photos with a number of constraints on them. We get these 10-inch by 10-inch contact prints, which means that the negative is as big as the printed picture, and we scan them, and then we run them through this proprietary stereo matching package, which Tim Day has written, which takes the two images and matches points on the two images to find the elevation of those points. It depends on how much memory you got. If you have 4 megs, it's about, I guess, 5 miles by 5 miles, but it's textured, it's tiled in such a way that, I don't know if you noticed, but the world you were in was 5 miles by 5 miles. Not Aspen, but the desert one. And you'll just never notice because of the way that we tile it. If you have more memory, the area we tile just gets bigger and bigger. If you have 16 megs, it's about 15 by 15 miles. So you'll never run out of little places to look at. We're much more interested in pulling a lot of G's and doing those kinds of high energy maneuvers and stuff, which you do basically right around the airport. And all the interesting things to do in an airplane around an airport. There's not too much fun in flying cross country. I know some people who fly cross country in Microsoft, but I mean, like, what's the point? In many ways, we're copping out. We don't really have an artistic style for Flight Unlimited. We're always going for photorealism. It's a very easy thing to point for. It's hard to achieve, but it's very easy to point at. Human beings are very good at picking out small differences in detail between things, and that's something that we try to do very, very carefully in Flight Unlimited, is make sure that all the transitions of visual languages make a lot of sense, that the screens make sense, and that you're always being transported into this rendered world, and there's a very strong differentiation between things which are rendered and things which are flat. And so that people who are playing it never feel overwhelmed in any way, and so that it always is making good visual sense, and that's part of being honest. I'm kind of toying with the idea right now of the possibilities of a combined kind of strategy simulation game in which you are in one of the vehicles in a strategy game, and you're having to pilot this vehicle in real time with the strategy thing is going on. Well, we're slated to have final software on August 15th, and based on whether or not you think I'm lying and how long it's going to take for us to get product into the channel, that means that we could hit the shelves anywhere between September 15th or October. I was looking for a job and interested in posting on the bulletin board of the physics department at Tufts University, and so I called up and I found that it was the same guy who had done Chuck Yeager's Flight Trainer, which was the program that taught me how to fly. And that would be Ned Lerner, who's just down the hall over there. And I actually got to come up and interview and talk to Ned. In fact, I had insulted in the interview Chuck Yeager, because I was already at this time imagining what I could do with this fluid dynamics model and thing. And I really wanted to do a flight simulator. I had just learned how to fly aerobatics in sailplanes, and I really wanted to do an aerobatic trainer for sailplanes. And I started to kind of work on it a little bit on my Amiga at home, and I, between teaching Physics 1 to a bunch of damn engineering freshmen, and I got a chance to come up here and insult Chuck Yeager for its flight model, things like that, in front of Ned, and then Ned said, "Oh, I wrote that." It's like, oh, damn, sorry, Ned. And from that minute, I knew that Looking Glass was really the place for me. I wrote the physics system that lets you, lean around corners and does all the guns and all the collisions between things, and the creatures bouncing and running and jumping and climbing, and any motion in System Shock is due to me. Right now, System Shock runs with two different sets of goggles, the Victor Max and the Forte, and it works pretty well. Flight Unlimited is a much better candidate for the VR kind of thing. We divide everything up very clearly between physics and 3D and 2D technologies, and the 2D technology is the one that we need for the goggles. We simply, draw 2 frames instead of 1, and change the view vector from being facing out of the center between your eyes here to just 2 facing out like this, and then everything else just happens automatically because we just do it the same way your eyes do. We have an excellent sound guy here called Greg Lopiccolo, late of the band Tribe, which you may or may not know. They recently broke up. They're an alternative band that had a couple of albums out. And Greg has a very extensive home studio, multi-tens of thousands of dollars studio, and he has this digital audio tape recorder. So we took it up and strapped it to his chest, in this airplane, and we flew some loops and snap rolls and lumshavaks and things like that, and recorded what it sounded like inside the airplane. When you throttle down really quickly, it would go pum 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 pum, and sputter correctly, depending on what kind of engine it is. and have a separate channel for wind noise, also driven from the physics model, and then a separate channel for propeller noise, also driven from the physics, so that you'll get a really nice integrated sound environment. We're not going to have any music because, as I mentioned to you before, I'm not going to enforce my musical taste on anyone else. Play whatever music you want. And the FBO will have incidental sound effects, dogs barking, planes flying overhead, cars driving by, things like that, just to kind of liven up that environment.